Hi everyone, it's Luke from Inspired Gamer, and this is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered. As the name implies, this is a remastering of the original action RPG, which debuted on the Nintendo GameCube all the way back in 2003. Whether you were looking to pick this one up for that sweet nostalgia rush, or just picking it up for the first time, let's get started and take a look at what this game has to offer. The story in this game is classic Final Fantasy. Once upon a time, the world was devastated by a giant meteor, shattering the Great Crystal and unleashing a toxic substance across the land known as miasma. Fortunately, survivors are protected by the scattered shards of the Great Crystal that have the power to keep the deadly miasma at bay. Not so fortunately, the crystals are losing their protective power and they need to be purified on a regular basis, otherwise, everyone will die. As Final Fantasy as it gets, right? Right. And that's where you come in. You play as a member of a caravan, groups of adventurers that set out into the world exploring dungeons and slaying enemies in an attempt to find Myrrh, an item that empowers the crystals and keeps the world safe. I think this is a really neat concept that lends itself perfectly to the team-based multiplayer that the game is focused on, while also tying in with that Final Fantasy Crystal Power theme we have come to love. And speaking of the multiplayer gameplay, let's dig into that a little, because it's one of the game's biggest strengths. That's not to say it can't be played solo, of course it can, and it's fine, but the game is really at its best when played with others. You can connect with up to 3 other players to form your caravan, and then head out into the world to tackle the game's dungeons. The combat plays out in real time and is very hack and slash, which keeps the game fast paced and offers a nice change up from the more turn-based systems that Final Fantasy is generally known for. You have a basic physical attack that can be charged up for a more powerful strike, as well as the ability to defend from incoming damage, but it's the magic attacks where things get a little more interesting. Spells have to be aimed manually. This is indicated by a little targeting circle that appears on the ground. What's really cool though is that you have to overlap spells with your teammates in order to create more powerful spells. So if 2 players cast fire on the same spot, you get Firer. If 3 players cast it, you get Firigger. Or combining life, cure and cure would give you haste and increase your team's speed. Messing around with the different combinations and coordinating when to use your abilities makes for a fun time. In single player, you can fuse spells together yourself before casting, or you can overlap spells with your Moogle Power. But whoa, before we get ahead of ourselves, we can't forget that the world is covered in very deadly miasma, so you have to take along your chalice, which contains a crystal shard and keeps your team safe from the toxic cloud. Learning how to strategically move and place it around the dungeon can give you a big advantage in battle. Again, in single player, your trusty Moogle friend will carry it around for you. We truly don't deserve Mog. So gather your team, enter the dungeon, slay enemies, collect loot, beat boss, and get your Myrrh. The gameplay is kinda quirky, but also very satisfying. The game also allows you to customize your own caravanner. You can choose one of 4 different tribes to play as. These are the Clavets, which make for good all-rounders, the Lilties, which make for strong attackers, Ukes are strong spellcasters, and the Selkies are very agile and focused on speed. You can choose to play as either male or female, and each gender has 5 different starter appearances to choose from. So there's a decent amount of variety here. You can also select a voice preset for your character, as well as a home job. This is essentially your family trade, and determines what your parents do for a living. Each of the 8 choices has its own benefits. For example, if you choose blacksmith, you can bring materials you collect back to your father, and he will craft powerful weapons and armor for you. That's right, you have a family in this game, and the stronger your bond with them, the better the services they provide you with will be. After each dungeon, you will receive letters from them that often contain items. It's nice that they check in with you, and you can reply back, like in this letter, your mother is asking if there's anything you need. You can ask for a bunch of different things, like money. That's the story of my life right there. You can also send back items and money, so yeah, remember to keep your folks happy. In the game, but also, just in general too. This updated version of the game comes with a pretty good amount of new features, the biggest of which I think is the addition of 13 new dungeons on top of the original's 14. These new high difficulty dungeons make up the post-game content and are designed to really challenge the player. They offer up all new equipment to collect and are a good incentive for veterans to return once again. Crossplay is also now available, allowing PS4, Switch, iOS and Android players to connect and work with each other. This is a handy feature as local co-op will unfortunately not be available, so being able to play together regardless of platform is a big plus. There's also what they are calling the Mimic feature, which allows you to take on the appearance of characters you meet across your journey and adds a little bit of extra customization. Further improving the game is new English voice acting, a remastering of the original soundtrack and the addition of new songs, upgraded visuals and extra items and character customization options. Plus, there will be a light version of the game, allowing you to jump in for free and tackle the first 3 dungeons. And if you connect with someone who owns the full version of the game, you can play through 13 of the game's dungeons. That's pretty insane considering the original game only had 14 dungeons. Alright, I'm going to quickly throw this one in here, because it seemed like this game was going to be locked to the GameCube forever, and it's amazing that we finally have another chance to play it. I mean, the main Final Fantasy games were pretty much all released on PlayStation consoles at the time, so there's so many fans that missed this one the first time around because they didn't own a GameCube. Veterans also have a reason to come back and experience all the new features and get their nostalgia rush on, and fans of just good fun co-op games can now play one of the classics. It's just a good thing all around. Okay, that's pretty much Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered and why you might want to give it a go. You can get this game for PS4, Nintendo Switch, iOS, and Android on August 27. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next time.